guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen. My name is Sam Lin. I'm just a home cook who's really passionate about sustainability and, more importantly, save money by making things at home, and hopefully I can help you guys do the same in your own kitchen as well. For those who have been following my YouTube journey and watching my videos would have known that I have been sharing some tips and tricks in terms of reusing yogurt containers like this. I have a little bit of a soft spot for yogurt. It's just so easy when it comes to breakfast. A couple of scoops of these and then alongside with some toasted oats. It's so easy, so filling, and it's ready in 10 seconds, and I cannot recommend you more. But I'm getting to a point where I go through probably a tub of yogurt once every 2 weeks and I'm left with this container. It's all well and good and I can use it for dry goods like beans or chickpeas and whatnot, but I just don't really want to deal with it anymore. I've got a full cupboard of it and I am running out of ideas. So if you have any suggestions, please do share it down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you and learn from you how you can utilize tubs like this. But anyway, today's recipe, coming from being sick of having to deal with plastic containers like this, got me researching how can I make some yogurt alternative. So I landed on this recipe, making vegan yogurt with chickpea, and literally chickpea and water, 1 or 2 ingredients, depends on how you look at it. It's super simple, it's so easy to do, and obviously it's super cheap. So highly recommend you guys to try it at home. And before we jump into the recipe, if you can spare that 1 second and smash the like button down below, that will help promote my video to a bigger audience, be able to spread the idea of sustainability and being frugal to more people essentially. Thank you very much for doing that, and let's get into it.
Alright, to make our vegan yogurt, we'll need some basic ingredients. First of all, we'll need some dried chickpeas. Unfortunately, tinned chickpeas is not as ideal for this recipe, as we're going to be using chickpea soaking water as our culture, and tinned chickpeas are cooked and the soaking water is less active. Next thing we'll need is just some water. We'll be using a jar to soak our chickpeas and store our yogurt. As always, we'll be using a scale to measure out our ingredients so you can easily scale up or down the ingredients based on your consumption. That's all we need. We'll put our stuff aside and get started. The entire process will take about 24 hours from soaking the chickpeas to milking it, and then the fermentation process. To start with, we're going to soak our dried chickpeas to rehydrate them. It normally takes about 5 to 6 hours to do so, so I recommend soaking them overnight to have them ready in the morning, or do it in the morning so they'll be ready in the afternoon when you get home from work. Here, I'm measuring out 200 grams of chickpeas. Once chickpeas are in, add about 500 grams of water. Chickpeas do soak up a lot of water, so be generous with it. Now, we can put the chickpeas aside and let it soak for 6 to 8 hours. I put the soaking process on time lapse, and here it is. As you can see, it is now night time. I put it on just before work, and it's all good to go when I get home. The chickpeas are well hydrated and at least double in size. Next thing to do is to drain our chickpeas. Grab a bowl and a strainer. We're going to separate out our chickpeas from the water and use the soaking water as our yogurt starter, so don't pour it right down the sink. We can chuck our chickpeas right into our blender. Put our soaking water aside as we'll need it later. Wet out 1 liter of fresh water and add it to the blender. Turn the blender on, and we want to blend it for 2 to 5 minutes, or until the mixture is smooth. Now our chickpea milk is ready, we want to prep up our saucepan. Next is to filter out the chickpea pulp from the milk. A nut bag works wonders for this recipe. I'm using a pillowcase as a budget alternative. A nut bag costs somewhere in between $4 to $10. If you have a spare pillowcase, it filters out the pulp just as well. The only difference is pillowcase requires a little bit more elbow grease. Take it as a workout. Line up the pillowcase and pour the chickpea mixture straight in. Grab our pillowcase from the ends and start twisting it to get our chickpea milk out. Once we've squeezed all of the liquid out, we're left with the chickpea pulp. It's perfectly edible. You can add it to burger patties, cookie dough, or even just throw it into your garden as a fertilizer. Now we got our chickpea milk. Next thing to do is to move over to the stove and we want to heat it up. Turn the stove on medium heat and make sure to be stirring the milk constantly, as the starch in chickpea can quickly thicken up on the bottom and get burnt. After about 5 minutes, the milk should be boiling. Turn the heat off, and as you can see, cooked chickpea milk should be slightly thicker in consistency. Now leave the milk to cool down to room temperature. Coming back to the cooled down chickpea milk, next to do is to transfer the chickpea milk into a glass or ceramic container. There's going to be a little bit of fermentation going on, so a non-reactive material like glass, clay, or ceramic container are recommended. I've just got the same glass jar from earlier. Pour the chickpea milk in. On the side, here we've got the soaking water we kept from earlier. The liquid is slightly low in pH, and the microorganism is going to give our yogurt a kickstart to ferment. Add about 2 tablespoons or 15 to 20 grams of the liquid in. Give the mixture a good stir. Put the lid on and we'll leave it to ferment for 8 to 24 hours depending on the weather and how funky you like it to be. I left mine fermenting for about 15 hours as at the time I was making it, we had a chill blast here in Brisbane and the fermentation was slower than normal. The easiest way to tell whether or not it's ready is by tasting it. The next day, I was able to see some micro bubbles in the yogurt, and that's a really good sign of the fermentation working. After 15 hours of room temperature fermentation, my yogurt is ready. As you can see, there's a little bit of a separation between the yogurt and the liquid, which is perfectly normal. The thicker yogurt is trapping the micro bubbles and floating to the top, separating from the heavier liquid. At this stage, you can add in some vanilla extract or sugar syrup to season this yogurt. To go with the yogurt, I took a couple of spoons out into the bowl. The consistency is definitely spot on. Some oats in, some almond, and some chia seed. That's my go-to super fast healthy breakfast. The cost breakdown is as below. 200 grams of chickpeas at $3 a kilo equals to 60 cents. That gives us 1 litre of vegan yogurt. Compared to dairy yogurt, which goes from $3.50 to $8 a kilo, this not only saves us the money, but also reduces the generation of plastic containers.
Alright, and there we have it. This is our 1 ingredient vegan yogurt. It's so simple to make and it's also so easy. More importantly, I'm not generating more of the yogurt container that I have been able to repurpose, but I'm gonna get to a point that I will just be essentially generating waste. This is my typical boring breakfast. Obviously, I usually have a bigger portion. Right now, it is late in the afternoon. I thought I'd just put on some snack and then also make this video, and I'm just going to dig in. To be completely honest with you, it tastes a little bit different from yogurt. The consistency is great, but if you're expecting a slight tang and that sweetness and whatever, this is not it. But it's a little bit nutty, it's definitely creamy, and then the fermentation actually gives it a really good twist. I personally do enjoy it, but it does not taste like yogurt. It's not made out of dairy, so obviously there's going to be some kind of difference. But it's really good, it's cheap to make, it's also quite environmental friendly. I'd be happy with this for my breakfast any day, to be honest. I have stopped buying yogurt since about a month or 2 ago, and I've made at least a couple batches of these so far, and I've been really satisfied. So I'm going to keep making this. Obviously, in terms of flavor, you can add some sugar to it, you can add some vanilla extract to give it that extra flavor, and in terms of consumption, you can add some jam to it and then turn it into a really fruity kind of breakfast. Use it in cooking, obviously, as a substitute of yogurt. Thickness of it, the creaminess of it will work really well in dishes like curry and that kind of stuff. Anyway, enough of my talking. If you're still watching at this point, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing. I have a new video coming out on a weekly basis. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.